That was nice. So that is the state of mind that we want to come to for this prophet in us to come forth. And it's so easy. It just begins, as I usually say at the end, it begins with a single breath. Just a breath, just to stop and to breathe and to begin to realize that we are part of that oneness. To extend our everyday mind into the mystical mind. It's not too much to expect, it's not too much to reach for, to be thinking of it as the mystical mind of Christ. Or, if you like, you can think of it as the Buddha nature. And to remember that it really is the universe expressing as a united you. So the mystic, we talked a little bit about it last week, and so some of this will be like a review. The mystic is evidenced by excited utterances. Some other things are maybe symptomatic too when you hear excited. You wonder if it's a prophet or if it's maybe something else. Especially excited utterances. I'm not talking about swearing. Oh, that actually could be the beginning of it. In some churches, the mystic experience is people speak in tongues and fall down on the floor with the laying on of hands. And sometimes it's just silence. This is it's interesting, the speaking in tongues. It's easy to dismiss that. The first lesson, the lesson actually for today that's on the website, is talking about having a rational mind, being rational, having critical thinking. And so from that perspective, it's very easy when we observe some of these practices. We see people speaking in tongues and all kind of stuff going on and in these gatherings, and it's easy in that critical state of mind to dismiss that and say that's just fantasy. They're just making believe, and unfortunately, there are a number of people in that movement who are just faking it. But the reason that they're faking it is because they're trying to be a part of, which is the thing that we're all after. So it's really nothing to judge. But on the other hand, there really are people who are having a mystical experience when you hear them speaking in tongues. It is really happening for them. It's for real for them. This is really important, is that if that's your doorway, go ahead. Not right here, right now. But certainly follow that way. But the other side of it is also instructive for us. In order for us to have a mystical experience, we can't be acting like we think someone else wants us to act. We can't be, going along to get along. We can't be just because we're in a group of people to just parrot what they say is not going to be enough. Now, at first, I was told, when I first got on the spiritual path, is to fake it till I made it, right? Fake it till you make it. This is what they said. But they didn't mean just to be a fake. They just meant act this way until it becomes real for you. Excited utterances. I'll probably have a couple of those before we're done today. So it's this mystic experience is esoteric, and esoteric it's a great word. It means hidden, in secret, within. Now there are what we're talking about here in this prophetic experience that I hope I'm seeking. The prophetic experience. This is what I'm seeking. And I hope that you are too, but it's up to you. But in that, this is what they're talking about, is hidden secret within. It's what Jesus says in the prelude before the Lord's Prayer, he says, go into your closet and close the door. He didn't actually mean that you go back there into that little room and close the door. He meant go to the quiet place inside yourself and close the door. Or he was actually giving instruction as, probably be a good idea if you're in your home to go somewhere quiet so that you can establish this state of mind. So to go within, and then he also gives instruction about prayer. Stop praying in public loudly so other people see you and think that you're holy, because then that is your reward. That's why he said, not because he was saying you'll be punished. He was just saying that's all you get then. When you pray loudly in public so other people can hear you, that's all you get, is you get to know that they heard you praying. And by the way, if you do that, some people hear you praying and they think you're holy, other people think you're nuts. So I don't know if you're getting what you want. The end is near. The guy with the placard. They don't do that anymore. But they still stand on the street corner. Now they've got electric microphones and stuff. Exoteric is outward. It's in the material world. Here is what will happen when we establish this practice within us and we begin to have these mystical experiences. What occurs within, hidden, in secret, in that quiet place inside, is that in the outer world, things will begin to show themselves. Changes will begin to happen. This is this whole idea of, in the peace song, where it says, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. This is really what we're talking about. The only reason we are here to help each other go on. Because that's the only way we get to go on. We are here to help each other go on so we can go on. So we have this experience not so that we can, have this pleasant time. And in this meditative practice, there are many places for temptation. And when I say temptation, I don't want to put like a bad spin on it. But what I'm saying is, when we start to get good at this process, there's a certain place that we can go where we can just set up the Kundalini effect, so we have electrical energy running up and down our spine, making our hair stand up on end for long periods of time. Well, that's pleasant. It's nice, but it doesn't help anybody. So this is part of the instruction in the Lord's Prayer is about temptation. Don't stop there. Go ahead, have the experience, but don't just stop there and hold on to that. Move to that next place. Because then what's going to happen when we move to the next place is we actually get to that total quietness. We get to that place of total peace where we are in contact with the essence of good, which is to say God. So these inner experiences then come forth. Because now, see, at peace, just think of it. At peace, I can go out into the world and be peaceful. So I become a center of peace. And when I'm a center of peace, that center reaches out to touch others and influences them for peace. And we know it happens because we know if we are agitated and upset and we go out into the world, even if we don't say anything, other people feel it. Other people pick up on it. They will do the same if we are at peace. And from each person doing this practice, then more and more are touched. The more people who start to do the practice, the more people they touch. And then the more people they touch. Something is happening. We're coming to peace and we're bringing our brothers with us. So some people with this mystical experience, they write stuff. I write stuff sometimes. Sometimes I write stuff I can't share in church. But it's good to let that flow out of us. It's very interesting. I was reviewing, last week I was reviewing Song of Solomon in the Hebrew Bible. It's called Song of Songs, Song of Solomon. And I don't know why, because Solomon didn't write it. I mean, it's It's purportedly, it's written by one of the concubines of Solomon. And but it says there isn't one mention in this whole book. There's not one mention of God in the whole book. It's wonderful, beautiful, spiritual, erotic poetry. And it's so, when you read it, it is so powerful in that way that you see why the church fathers wanted to try to keep it out. But it was so popular that there was no way that they could keep it out. So this book then is one of the main sources for Rumi and Hafiz later on to start writing their love poetry. Because what they read when they read the Song of Solomon was that the whole thing was a love poem to God. It's a mystical experience when we look at love in the way that it's looked at in the Song of Solomon. It becomes what could be a mundane and just physical act becomes spiritual, becomes a bridge to the consciousness that is higher than the body. And the poetry helps get us there. It helps get the mind in that place. So these writings, these mystical writings, let thought become your beautiful lover. Let thought become the beautiful woman. Cultivate your mind and heart to that depth that it can give you anything a warm body can. Why just keep making love with God's child's form when the friend himself is standing before us, open-armed? My dear, let prayer become your beautiful lover and become free of this whole world like Hafiz. So now it's interesting here. He doesn't say to stop making love to God's child. He said, don't just. He says, don't just do that. Allow your mind to open up. See that God stands before you. Moses, hey, there's a movie, Moses, Exodus.
It's really good.
It's a spectacle, right? It might not be quite as accurate as you'd like it to be, but it's going to be beautiful to watch. So Moses has a mystical experience. He sees God face to face. This is what it says. Anyway, this is what it says. He sees God face to face. This is the essence of the mystical experience. It's what in the 12-step programs we say improve our conscious contact with the God of our understanding. That contact means touch. So to touch God, to see God face to face, this is a mystical experience. We can all do it. We can all do it. Moses does it, but it says the reason that he is the foremost of the prophets, as far as the Hebrew tradition goes, is because he is actually the only one where it says that he saw God face to face. So he saw God face to face. And then, later though, it says that he didn't. So you can just figure that out on your own. But later it says he didn't actually see him face to face because he's told God, he says, I want to see your face. And God says, oh no, can't do that. Why? Because if you see my face, you will die. He says, but is the interesting word here. He says, this is what I'll do. You hide yourself in the cleft of rock over there, and I'll pass by you. And you can see my backside as I go past. So Moses hides himself in the cleft of rock. God goes before him and says, and I guess he saw his butt. Because that's all he could see without dying. Or if you want, go ahead and read it. You think it's not true, but it is. It's in there. You'll see. So it's a contradiction. But whatever it was, whatever really happened, whether he saw God face to face or whether he just saw her butt. It was a mystical experience. Ezekiel is a prophet where the heavens open to him. He gets quiet. The heavens open up. This is a vision that he's having. Do not be thinking that this happened like this. I mean, in the material world, it happened in his mind. It happened in the midst of meditation. The heavens opened up. Now, it's very likely that there was a storm-filled sky. But it says stormy fire filled the clouds. It's a lightning experience. But within, what he sees is, he sees a wheel, a fire appears, and then a throne, and God is sitting on the throne. Can't see his face. God's sitting on the throne, and the throne has wheels of fire, and it's so now. This is strong. I have some Native American friends who claim that they've had this experience on peyote. Ezekiel wasn't taking any peyote. He was getting quiet within himself. So this mystical experience that Ezekiel had then gave him the inspiration to go forth to help the people. And the way that he got his authority to help the people, the way that they gave him authority, was he related his experience. He told them what he saw. And then he told them what the message that he was guided to give them was. So he saw this vision, they say, holy, holy, holy. And then they listen to him. Now, the reason I titled this talk Experiential is because this is the most important thing. This is why we want to go within and have it, because it is only the experience that is going to be authentic. We can study, read, we can talk about it, we can do all sort of different things. But if we actually do not have the experience of being touched by this holy instant, by this presence of God, if we don't actually have that experience, then we really can't share the power of it. And so I'm going to suggest, you're sitting there thinking, well, have I had that experience? I'm trying to think back if I've ever had that kind of experience. Everybody here has had the experience, even if fleeting, where you had a moment of peace, where you had a moment of total peace, where you just knew that everything was okay. You may have had the experience of, and I hope everybody had this. I know some of us didn't. We had to wait till later to get it. But that experience of climbing up on your mother's lap and being held close and knowing that you were totally safe. This is a mystical experience. If we can recall it when we are not feeling safe and just kind of make the connection and say, right now, I am sitting in God's lap and I'm being held close. No matter what it seems, that's the reality, that's what's really going on. So Isaiah sees God in a vision in a temple. Oh, and guess what? He sees God enthroned in a palace, and the throne has these flaming wheels on it, same way as the other, and but he's got all kinds of angels. I told this story last week, but I'm going to tell it again because there's some of you didn't hear it, and it didn't get recorded. So he's looking at this tremendous vision of God, and he's at once uplifted, but then feeling totally inadequate, feeling totally as if he is too lowly to be having such an experience. He is not being humble. He is actually being egotistical in the totally opposite way and feeling as if he's not worthy to be there. And he starts to speak about not being worthy. And God sends these angels to him, right to his face, and one of them uses a wing to wipe the words of unworthiness from his lips. Oh. So what really happened here was a divine idea occurred to him. First, he's overwhelmed by this beauty, and he says, oh, no, he says, not for me. I'm not good enough to experience the presence of God. And God sends a divine idea to him that wipes the unworthiness from his lips. And every time in the Bible where God appears to someone, they drop to their knees and you're going to get abject worshipful. He says, get up. Stand up. So if you're thinking that you're not good enough, that you're not practiced enough, that you're not, really serious enough to be in the presence of God, let that angel wipe that thought from your lips. Here's Daniel. I'm going to leave Daniel till next week. We'll talk about that next week.